That's the first time I got a consent message for recording. So that's interesting.
Yes. You're usually the one who hits record.
Exactly. So welcome to Trailblazers Toolkit Part 1. I mentioned a little bit before, but for the sake of the recording, I'll just repeat it. We're going to be going over the content tool in your course and some basic content that we can add to it. So we're going to talk about the syllabus area, some modules and how to create them. And then we're also going to talk about uploading and creating like URLs, content pages, using templates, dates and restrictions, all the fun stuff. So we're going to get started just by me sharing my screen here. And you should be seeing the Brightspace homepage without anything logged in yet. So you log in with your portal credentials, as you probably know by now. And once we're in, I don't know why it says page not found, but we're going to go to a course anyway. So if you don't remember, or if you want a refresher to go to your course, you click on the waffle icon up at the top and you just select it from the listing. I have mine pinned at the top so I don't lose it in the mess of other things that I can see. So I'm just going to give it a click and go right in. So I have my course here. I have my course homepage. I have an announcement here on the front. And we have the instructor bit here and the course content at a glance. This course content is going to be pretty important later on, but I just wanted to show you where it is. It directly correlates to our completion tracking for all of the activities in Brightspace that you add. So I will be mentioning it later, but I just wanted to show you where it is on the homepage. But we're talking about the content tool today, so I'm going to stop right in there just by clicking content in the nav bar, and it just opens up. So mine defaults to open to the first module, but yours may default to table of contents if you haven't added anything yet. But essentially this sidebar here is your navigation area. So we have syllabus that we can click on. There's bookmarks, which are personal to you. They aren't like a course-wide bookmark. I'll talk about that a little later too. We have course schedule, which is mainly just like dates. If you have lectures set up in Bongo, which we'll talk about weeks from now, they show up in here, and other things that have dates, like activities with due dates. We have table of contents, which is just your overview of your course. So all of your modules will appear in table of contents. And then they also appear below table of contents in the sidebar. So I have 2 modules at the moment, and I can click on either of them without having to go to table of contents, but just know that you can access all of your modules in the table of contents area. So first things first, the syllabus area is just what it is, the syllabus. If you've watched any Brightspace training videos, you might have heard it called the overview area, but it's the same thing. It's just called syllabus because that's where you're going to put your syllabus or anything that seems relevant to be in the syllabus area. Like for example, I have like a picture here and a brief description of whatever this course is because it isn't real. And then I have a document for getting started with Brightspace and just navigating the platform. So for me, this would, function as my introductory area, but for typical courses, this is where the syllabus would go so that students could see it in one place and they can view it right on the page without having to download it. So it automatically transfers over to a PDF no matter what format it was in initially, and they can just kind of scroll through the file and look at all of the text and all of the fun stuff that you've included. But the best part is right underneath is a download button. So if they do want to download it to their computer, or if it's better for them to download it, if they don't have a great internet connection and they want to view it at a later date, they can always click download and it just downloads to the PC immediately as a PDF or whatever it was initially. I'm pretty sure mine was a PDF, so that's why it downloaded as such. You could also see at the top here, it says drag a file to update the attachment. So if you made any updates to your syllabus, like dates have changed or you've canceled a class for a certain week, you can always just drag the file up here again. And it just replaces this preview down here with the new updated file. So you don't have to delete it and then re-upload. You could just drag it here and it uploads and automatically updates right, from here. So it's pretty cool.
Riley,
also, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the students, when they come to the content page, it will default to the syllabus page the very first time, every
Oh,
time. So
good.
the first time they click on content, it will come to this tab and put it in their face. And then I wasn't sure if you were gonna go over the tools at the bottom of the PDF.
Yeah, actually, I was just getting to that.
Oh, you're perfect. I just found them, so.
Yeah, honestly, it just caught my eye, and I said, oh, maybe I should use that. So there's a couple little tools at the bottom of the syllabus area here. We have toggle sidebar, which actually shows you all the pages of the documents. You can kind of hop around, especially if it's a long one, like syllabuses sometimes tend to be. But you can toggle that and get rid of it if you like.
Wait, go back.
Oh, go back.
I'm sorry. Click the little extra icon at the bottom of the list there.
Oh, there it is, the lovely table of contents, the outline. So I think it just kind of detects it, or if you used Word to make it, they already make an outline based on the heading styles that you use. So if you use heading styles, it's probably the best option because it also correlates to the syllabus area and makes a nice little outline for your students. So you could either go by page or you could go by headings, whatever floats your boat. It's pretty cool. So we can toggle the sidebar to get rid of it. There's also this little search function. So I know for sure the word announcements is in here. It brought me right to this first one that says announcements, and it just kind of highlights the text. PDFs are usually pretty good about identifying words, so you should be able to search any PDF document without an issue. You can also highlight all of the instances of the word and match the case. So if you just wanted the lowercase version of whatever you've typed, you can just match the case if you like. I think you just click on it to get rid of it. You can also zoom out or zoom in with your plus and minus buttons. You can adjust the page width, either fill the space or make it smaller. You could also hop your pages this way, just with these little up and down arrows. There's also the presentation mode, which makes it huge, which is kind of nice if you have a longer document and you'd like to read it a little easier. And then we also have more tools. So you can go to the first or last page, and you can also rotate it if you like, if that's something you want to do. But there are plenty of tools at the bottom here that make it easier to read, but I think the best one is this sidebar area. That got me pretty excited.
Me too, Riley. Me too.
Good thing that's recorded for future use. This is pretty much the syllabus area. This is also kind of a good example of the HTML editor in use, which I will talk about in a couple minutes, but this is kind of an example of what you could do with the top area of any module in your content tool could look like. You can have titles, you can have pictures, you can have text, and it just kind of serves as a little introduction to your page. So that's a good example of one, but we're going to talk about the modules in just a minute and go over how to do something like this. So I keep talking about modules, and what they actually are kind of like your weeks in Moodle, or if you use topic format in Moodle, it's pretty much the same thing. You kind of organize your course into these little bite-sized pieces like units or chapters. However you want to organize it is really up to you. You could also make them weeks if you like. You can name them whatever you want. So if you wanted to stick with the week format, you could do that. If you wanted to go with topics or units, it's completely up to you. There are two ways you can add modules. You can do it through the table of contents tool right here. And to do so, you just kind of look for a command that says add a module. And for me, that's all the way at the bottom. But if you haven't created one yet, it should be at the top. And all you would do is just click add a module and say whatever you want it to be called. So just an example, and I hit the enter key, and now it's a module, which is pretty cool. And from the table of contents tool, you can add any of your content right here, any existing activities, which will be more pertinent next week when we start using the assignment tools and things like that. But this is where you can start editing your modules. But my favorite place to do it is over here on the left, where you can actually click into them and they get their own page. I just think it's a little easier to manage. So you could also see there's an add a module command over here. It's the same thing as on the table of contents. You just click on it and add your title. And once you hit the enter key on your keyboard, it just creates the module and it shows up in the listing on the left. And these little dotted icons on the left are drag handles. So if you wanted to place one above another, you can just kind of click and drag and place it wherever you like. You can also make them sub-modules, which just kind of serves as a module within a module. But today we're just going over modules because sub-modules are the same, just within another module. And how many times am I going to say that? A lot. Module is getting harder to say by the minute.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's not like a word anymore. So when you click on your module for the first time, I'll click on one of these new ones. You'll see a couple different things. We have add dates and restrictions. So if you click on that, you get start date, due date, and end date. And the start date is when you want the visibility of this module to start. So if this is a module further down the line, you want this one to appear around Halloween, you can add a start date so that it doesn't appear until that date. So you can see it, but the students cannot see it until this date occurs. So I can set the start date for today at 10 a.m. So it's already visible to me and the students. So that's pretty much just what a start date is. It starts the visibility of the module. Whereas due date is actually just when the module is due. So if you have like a unit that you want to wrap up by the end of October, you can add the due date as October 30th at 11:59 p.m. or whatever you want to call it, 11:30. And that just means that this module and its contents will be done essentially at the end of October. It doesn't mean that it's going to disappear. It just means that this content is, we're done talking about it at the end of October.
It also won't stop their access to it. So like it'll still be visible to them and they can still see and access everything within the module. And like if there's a discussion there, they could still post in the module after this due date. But the due date really just helps guide them on the course schedule, or if they're using the Brightspace Pulse app, it'll show up as you should be on top of this at this time.
A gentle nudge. Whereas the end date is just a clear cutoff. You will not see this module after this date. So I think we said a good example for this would be like a remedial unit. If you have something like that that isn't necessary for the final or doesn't need to be reviewed at a later date. If it's something just kind of quick and easy, maybe like an introductory thing, you can end it so they don't see it after a while and it doesn't clutter in your course. But I would not use the end date as, the end of this unit because then they won't see it afterwards. So the end date is very final, whereas the due date is just, a reminder to students like this is the end of this topic, keep on it, like Kat said. So if you want to use dates, we would suggest using start date and due date. We do not suggest using end date unless, there is an instance where you want that module to just stop being visible at a certain date. So all that to say, those are the due dates that we were talking about, but there's also some restrictions too that you can set. So we have release conditions here, and you can create a release condition or you can browse for one that you've already made. So essentially a release condition is what are the conditions for someone being able to see this module? And this applies to the whole module and not just individual activities, though you can do it for individual activities, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But release conditions, you have to set a condition type. So for example, if we have, what's a good one? If someone completed a content topic, so if someone completed this free write exercise, they would see this module. So it's kind of something like that. If A happens, then you see B. It's kind of more case-by-case basis, whether you want to use it or not, but it is an option, and it does apply to the whole module, so just keep that in mind. So everything in here, if you set a release condition, will be set to that condition, whereas individual activities can be set with release conditions, which is maybe something you want to go with instead. But this is just kind of the format of how to create a release condition. And then once you make it, you can browse for it later. So if you have the same condition you want to apply to multiple things, you can create it once and then browse for it using the browse button instead of clicking create.
So I'll use those for whole modules. Like if I want them to sign like a syllabus statement or an academic honesty pledge, I'll use it for the whole module for like the first like 3 weeks. So that way they cannot access them until they've done those items first, that they've said that they verified that they read the syllabus and verified that they understand what academic honesty and integrity is at Marywood and what the consequences are.
Right, which is a really good example of that, especially for a whole module. And if you do choose to make them and use the start dates and due dates and all of that, just make sure to click update so that it updates and displays at the top. You will see the dates that you've set and the release conditions at the top of your module, just so you know that it's there and that they apply to the module that you're in. The other thing that is in a module is a description, which is just a very general term for whatever you want to put at the top of your module. This can be almost anything. Of course, you can just apply text to it. It's just the HTML editor that you'll see a lot of other places, like your announcements, and we saw it in the email tool earlier in this series. But you can use the HTML editor to just add text. You can do the insert stuff button to insert images from your computer. You can add video notes straight in here. YouTube, you can search YouTube from here, which is pretty cool. You can also add links. You can enter embed codes if you like going that method. But essentially, you can add whatever you like to the top of your course. We just recommend not to add like complete content up here, just because that's for the bottom part of your module where you can upload and create. But if you want to add like an introductory statement or an overview of what the students should expect for this module, this is the perfect place to put it. Like I said before, like my syllabus area, I have kind of like an interesting, I guess, looking description, but it just kind of goes over what to expect here and in the course in general. In this module, I have just a picture. I have no text, so you can put whatever you like, whatever you think works best for your module. It's going to depend. So like I said, you just kind of click on add a description, the HTML editor comes up, and you just type away and do whatever you like, add your images, and then click update, and it just shows up at the top. And if you ever want to edit it afterwards, you just click on it and edit it, click update again. That still applies if you only have an image. Like in this module, if I just click the image, then I can edit the whole thing. So you can always edit it. You can always get rid of it if you like, whatever you want to do. So we have our basic module set up. We have our dates and restrictions. We have our descriptions. And then if you go below all of that, you can see where you actually add content. So we have the upload and create button. And here you can upload files. You can upload video or audio. You can create a file, create a link, which is just like adding a URL. You can add from manage files, which we will talk about a little bit. And then of course there's your assignments and discussions and quizzes, but we'll talk about those more next week. So the first thing I want to talk about with the upload and create is adding files just from your computer. The easiest way to do it by far is to click and drag. So if I wanted to click and drag a document, I can open up my file explorer and let's see, what could I do? I'll upload this Word doc. And you just kind of click it and drag it over to the blue box. And it starts uploading, as you can see on the left there. And then it appears right in your module. And it tells you what it is. And this will appear to the students as well. So I just uploaded a Word document. I can click on it. And it just opens up within Bongo. So you don't have to download it, though they could. And they do have that option. But it does convert it to a PDF for the sake of previewing it on the website. So even though mine was a Word document, it's preparing the preview because it's making it a PDF for easy viewing. But when the students download it using this download button, it should download as a Word doc. So it always downloads as its original format. So you have your same tools as you did with the syllabus area. so you know what those are. But then underneath an activity like this, you can see there's the visibility. So whether you want it to be shown or hidden, you can just toggle that on and off. You can adjust the completion requirements. So by default, they're automatic, which correlates back to those circles I talked about in the beginning on our course homepage. That just means if someone clicks on this document, it kind of marks it as complete because they viewed it, and then it correlates to the completion circles on the course homepage. So you can see, the student can see how far they've gotten in a certain module based on how many things there were in the module and how many things they clicked on or completed. So it's always automatic until you change it. You can change it to manual so that they can check it themselves, or you can just say it's not required so it doesn't affect their circles. By default, it's automatic. Like I said earlier, you can add dates and restrictions to individual activities. So you can add your start and due dates and your end date if you like. You can also do release conditions here. If you have someone specific who needs to see this document and you don't want anyone else to see it, you can set those conditions, things like that. Update saves it all. And then you can also add a description if you like. Kat, does the description show on the module page?
Yes,
or is it just, okay. So it's kind of like on Moodle when you would write a description and then show on course page. It's kind of the same idea. There's also a completion summary tab over here, and it's always at the bottom of your activity. And it just shows your students, all of your students in your course, and whether they have completed it. In this case, just kind of opening it. And you can see incompletes or exempts if you have exempt users from this specific activity, or you can see the completed. So this is kind of a nice little overview for you, especially if you want to see who viewed a certain document and who has yet to view it. So that's nice. All of these tools are just at the bottom of your activity when you click on it to view it. So I'm going to go back to my module just by clicking on the little breadcrumb trail at the top just to return to our module. But if you ever want to edit those settings like the completion requirement or the due dates and restrictions, you can always just click on the item and do it in there. So now that I have an assignment or an activity rather in my module, I'll show you what those completion circles actually look like, because I do have a module with more activities in it. So I now currently have 3 modules, and they show up here at course content at a glance. And I believe everyone has that on their course homepage. So all of my modules are here, and they are in the order that I have them in my content tool. And I am 50% through one of my modules because there's a couple things in there I haven't clicked or interacted with. And then because I only have that one document in the other module, I have 100%. So students will see the same thing as they're going through the modules. They'll see how far they are, and they'll see, if they've completed something or not, which is kind of nice.
So, and they default to all being required. So like right now, every course, when you create something, it automatically defaults to being required. If it's something that you don't want to be required, you can change that on the setting, and you can do it lots of different ways. So the way Riley's doing it right now is within the actual assignment. So you can do required manual, meaning they'll have to mark it off themselves that they did it, or not required. And if you use that not required, it won't affect their progress on those circles on the homepage. Another way that you could do it is when you're on the modules page. Like if you wanted to edit a bunch of them at once, Riley, if you click on table of contents, so you'll have lots of things.
Yes.
But you can click that bulk edit button at the top, and it lets you can adjust the names, the visibility, and the requirement, add dates and restrictions for everything all at once.
Right. It's quite lovely. A check mark indicates the requirements. So if you click on a check mark for any of your activities, you're able to change the requirement from here. And then the visibility is the eye icon. It turns to the toggle that we saw before. And then of course there's the delete button. But thank you for bringing that up. I almost forgot about bulk edit. Oh yeah.
I don't think we talked about it on Monday.
That's okay. That's why we record this one too. So there's one more thing I wanted to mention about just the basics of these resources. Students can actually come in and bookmark them. So if there's something specific in a module that they want to remember for later, or they want to mark as important for the final, maybe, they can click into it. And at the top, there should be a little bookmark icon. And you can click on it, and you can do the same. The students can also see this. So then when they're back in the content tool, remember how I said there was a bookmarks area? Now a bookmark shows up because I bookmarked this web page. So you can go into any file, any activity that you've added, and click the bookmarks just to add it to their bookmarks area. So as an instructor, when you bookmark something, it doesn't do it for everybody. It's just for yourself, and the same applies to the students. So it's just a nice little thing that they can do if you wanted to let them know that that is available to them. But students are pretty resourceful. They'll probably figure it out on their own. But this is a good segue into content pages, because I mentioned you can make them, and this is an example of one. So it's essentially just like a page full of content, as the name implies, but in Brightspace we have nifty little templates that you can use. Like, there is no way that I formatted this myself. This is a template. You can change the pictures that they have. You can edit the titles and obviously the text. This one included some learning objectives, which don't look too closely at them because I'm not an instructor, so I don't know what I'm doing. But it has this cool formatting that you can utilize, and students can just kind of come here and look at a whole bunch of content, whatever you decide to put on here. I think Kat had a good example in her course of multiple videos that she included in here, and then some information to kind of break it up. So it almost acts like a digital textbook in a way.
Yeah, and like I changed one of them from learning objectives. Like I just said, like, you know, characteristics of probability density functions, and then listed the characteristics and used the numbering that way rather than just sticking with the learning objectives, since you can change anything that's on there.
Super customizable, and you can tell I forgot to change the logo at the bottom, but there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff to do in the content pages, and I'll show you how to make one, but they won't be as pretty as this one. So I just wanted to show you how one could look. So I'm going to go back into my module and go straight to my upload and create button. I'm going to go to create a file, and then it kind of just opens up an HTML editor. So it just kind of gives you free reign right from the beginning. If you don't want to free format by yourself, you can select a document template at the top. I'm going to give it a title first though. And then you can select a template from the drop downs. Now I believe we have to send you the template package. I think there are some defaulted ones, but they aren't the fancy ones that Brightspace has. These are the daylight ones, I believe, and the ones that come default with all the courses, they still look nice, but we can send out the package for daylight so you get these specifically. And you can see they're all named differently. So we have like get started, which gives you this image at the top. You can change anything. It tells you how to get started with the templates, but you can insert any text that you like in here. This one has specific formatting for like step 1, 2, 3. It has this big note at the bottom. So if I didn't like those format options, I can just click on something else, like maybe video lecture instead. I get a different picture that I can also change, but then it shows me how to insert a video and how to replace that video too, in case you want to do this yourself. So it gives you a lot to start editing on how to edit the template, which is really nice. And like Kat said, it's super customizable. So even though this says video lecture, you can just change it to say whatever you want. It could be like an introduction to a unit, and then you put like a helpful video in here from YouTube, and then go through and just kind of enter all of your useful information. It's just super customizable. But one thing to note about the templates is that you should use them from the very beginning of creating a file. Because if you type in some text and then you realize later you want to use a template, it'll delete all of the information that you've already typed. And the same applies to things that you've imported from Moodle. If you wanted to like edit, you know, like a text thing from Moodle, for lack of a better term, If you tried to apply a template to it, it would delete all that content. So just make sure that if you're planning on using a template, you use it from the very beginning and then type your content so you don't lose anything. It sounds scary, but just rest assured you should use the template first and maybe figure out which one you want to use based on the different formatting options they give you. So the content page, like I mentioned, could be anything you like. I had a very nice looking one on my page, but once you're done with your page, you just kind of save and close it, and it adds it straight to your module. And it appears on the module as a web page. So when they click on it, it should open up and look exactly how you created it. So no worries there. I did want to go over adding URLs as well, and also just uploading files in the traditional way instead of just dragging, clicking and dragging like we did before. When you click on that Upload Create button, we can upload files. That's our first option here. So if you choose to do that, you can click Upload Files and then select My Computer, select Upload, and then find whatever files you like. So if you want to do multiple, I believe the message said you can upload files up to 1 gigabyte, which is pretty big. So you can just upload a whole bunch of files if you like, and then let Brightspace do the rest. So if I wanted to do that, I can just click on that file, click Add, and then it adds to the bottom by default. And you can rearrange these any way you like. You just kind of click and drag and release it wherever you like. Just know that all of your new items default to the bottom. Don't go straight to the top. If you want to do a URL, you just have to create a link and you put in a title. So I'll put in the Marywood homepage. And then the URL, just as you would normally, you can copy and paste from whatever you like. There is an option to open it as an external resource, which would open it in a separate window. But just know that if you do choose to open it as an external resource, it will not be tracked in those completion circles. So if you want it to be tracked and you want to know who's clicking on, web pages and things or links that you provided, leave this unchecked because it will open within Brightspace instead of opening a separate window. There was an error. I think it's HTTP, perhaps. Sure. Okay, so it worked. So I guess, let me go back here. I don't believe I made it an external resource, but it might have decided for me. Okay, so it opens separately, but I know that there is a way for it to open within Brightspace. I know Kat did it, so we'll be sending out the Monday recording. You'll see how she did it.
I think it just depends on the website. I think it depends how the website is set up. So some of them will open right on this page within Brightspace. And one other type of link that you can use that opens up within Brightspace that works really well is a shared Google Doc or Google Sheet. So like if you wanted all of your students to enter something on a spreadsheet that they could all see, like if you were tracking something or I don't know, some sort of group project item, you can get the share link and use that link as a URL. And then when your students click on it, they're able to edit that document within the Brightspace.
Right. I just want to add this Google Doc to see if it'll open. This is one I do have shared, but it's not editable. But it does open within Brightspace, or it will once you sign in. So
it depends, yeah, because you didn't update your share settings on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you haven't shared so anyone with the link can access, it'll open right here.
Correct. And I kept it in Marywood University, so eventually it will work. I know it does. We're gonna leave the burning ship. Oh yeah, the last two things I wanted to talk about were course files, because we talked about that on Monday, and I think that's important to mention, and the video note tool. So course files is a nifty little place in your course where you can upload files that will be relevant for that course. It's also the place you will upload the daylight templates that I mentioned before. So your files can be anything you want to use for your course, and then you can pull from those files when you're uploading content. So you don't have to search for it on your computer. It'll already be kind of living in your course, just in the background, if that makes sense. So if you are a person who has like a folder full of your content for a course, like all of the documents you want to use, all of the Excel spreadsheets, all of those things, then this is the perfect method for you to upload your content, because then you don't have to search for it every time. So the way to get there is by clicking on Course Tools and then Course Admin. And this is kind of like the ultimate tool area for your content, or your course rather, because it has all of the tools that you could ever want to use. But the one for this specific process is Manage Files, right under Site Resources. And it brings up this very technical looking area, but the best way I've found to do this upload of multiple files is by creating a new folder so you know where it is. So I would say like, oh, these are the files for Unit 1. So I'll save that, and it saves as a file folder in my course files. And then what I'm going to do is kind of just click on it to open it, click Upload, and then it's the same sort of upload dialog as before. But I know my content that I want to upload is here. And I'm just going to kind of highlight them all, click Open, and they start uploading in here. And then once they're ready to go, I'll just click Save, and they all kind of import into this file folder in my course files. So now when I go to Content, and I go to Upload and Create in one of my modules, I can add from Manage Files instead of uploading from my computer. And then I can select my folder, Unit 1. And then if I want to add all of these things, I just click the checkbox at the top and click Add. And then all of them just boop right in there. The technical term is boop. And then you can just kind of access your content from here. So it's a nice, easy way if you have a lot of like Word documents you want to add, or a lot of PDFs, you can just add them immediately. It's kind of nice. And again, that's in the Course Tools area in the Course Admin, and then Manage Files. And you just kind of create a folder, add your content to that folder, and then you're able to add from the Files area. But if you don't feel like doing that, that's totally fine. You can always just upload files normally, and you can add multiple at once. So if you already had them in a folder and you just want to upload straight from that folder, you can do so as well. So it's just a nice little alternative. Do you have anything to add to that, Kat? Because I know you talked about it a little more on Monday.
So I guess if you click on Table of Contents, so if you were to do this one time and then you're like, but what do I do when I want to edit those files? If you click on Settings, you can update all of the settings, like kind of overview for your course. But if you scroll down a little more, stop, the drag and drop save behavior. So you could choose when you drag and drop, show a prompt to choose a folder in course files. And if you drag and drop a new file, it'll just replace files with the same name. So like if you updated it and you're like, oh, I have this file on here and it's, you know, week 1 lesson. If you update that week 1 lesson and drag and drop the new file on, it'll just replace it with if they have the same name instead of adding a second one. So you could check those boxes if you wanted.
Oh, that's great. I forgot about that. That's
especially good on Monday.
Yeah. It's especially good if you wanted to, you know, be a little more organized with your uploaded files in, you know, your general course files. If you want to use them somewhere else, like, you know, you have your options. But that is hidden in the table of contents in the settings area. And if you do choose to upload those HTML templates that we'll be sending out, you just have to make sure that you enable them in your table of contents, because otherwise they just won't show up when you create a file. So just make sure that enable HTML templates is checked in your table of contents setting if you want to use those. If you don't worry about it.
We'll include that in the directions with the file. So.
All right. So last thing I want to mention, I know we're running a little low on time. I went over, but I just want to mention the video note. It's available wherever you have an HTML editor. So that can be in the description of your module. It could be In create a file, you can just create a video note that way. It's wherever you have an HTML editor. So if I wanted to add it to my description up here, it's always in the Insert Stuff button, which is the first one that looks like a little play button. You click on it and you have the option to add a video note. You also have the option to video note search. So if you made one before and you wanted to add it to this course, you can search your video notes. But if you're making one from scratch, you can just click add video note. And if you're not in Zoom, it'll let you access the camera, and then you can upload a video up to 30 minutes. So you can record one up to 30 minutes. You don't have to take up that whole time. Once you're done with it, you can stop and then click next. And I think it lets you view it back to make sure that you said what you wanted to say. And then it's up there on your course. If you did have a video, like a Zoom recording that you wanted to upload, that would be here under Upload and Create. It would be here for video and audio, and you can just upload it from here. So you download it from the cloud if you're doing a Zoom recording, and then you just browse for it and upload it this way. So I think we had a pretty successful, like a longer Zoom recording that we uploaded. It was like an hour and a half, I think. Could be wrong. Okay.
Yes, I uploaded an hour and a half as a test.
You wouldn't have to go to Google Drive if you didn't want to. In Brightspace, you could just upload it immediately, which is pretty nice. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about the Zoom integration, which is a separate tool entirely, which is very cool. But I just wanted to mention how to record video and upload it as well. And if you had audio files, it's the same thing. You just go to video or audio and upload that audio file. But that's, I think, all I had. I talked for a long time. And Kat, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you're good. And you're early. We're 10 to 11.
Right. I think one day we ended at like, earlier than normal. Yeah. Time just gets away from me. But does anyone have any questions about anything or anything they want to see?
Can you go over the bookmark thing again? I tried messing around and I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
I missed a step.
Yeah, no problem. So if you want to bookmark something, for example, maybe this Word document, I'll open it up. So you do have
Okay,
to
so the bookmark has to be already in the course.
No, yes. So like you have to bookmark items, and the bookmarks are for you only. It won't bookmark for your students.
Right.
So let's just say I wanted to put I have like an APA resource.
Yes. And you can click on it like Riley did right here. So you would add the resource, you would open it up, and that bookmark link will be there, and you can click on it, and then it will show up on your bookmarks tab, but it won't show up on your students bookmark tab, just yours.
Okay. So if I wanted it to show up for them,
you would just add it in a module somewhere, and you could recommend that they bookmark it. You could say, you'll probably need this a lot. You'll want to bookmark it so it's easy to refer to.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You could always make like a separate module too with like important, resources and guides, and just kind of put it in there so it's separate from everything. But yeah, that's definitely an option too.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm. What's up?
So if you don't have a syllabus, if your course doesn't have a syllabus, could you have it default to like the intro page instead the first time?
No, the first time it'll always default to the syllabus page. Here, actually, Riley, click back on that settings where you just were.
Sure thing.
Controls the visibility. Yeah, no. So it'll always default to the syllabus page. So you could always just put like a little introduction, like sentence statement, and use the quick link tool to get to your actual module or the first thing you want them to be in. Would be my suggestion.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there a way to quick link to a module, or is it only individual activities? I don't think there is, but.
I don't think so. It would have to be an activity within the module.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. I can check quick. Because
That would be an option too if it was a thing you could do, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, here. Let's see. Yeah,
If you right click on the module title, oh, sorry, will that link work?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like the link address? Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe if I stick it in here somewhere.
No, it comes up as JavaScript void for me.
Oh, that's lame. That would have been a good idea. Yeah, JavaScript void. No. I mean, maybe if you clicked into the module and got that URL, but
I did that.
You're
right. I did that somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess I didn't do that with a module. I just did that with something else for Brightspace. Oh, for Blitz Week 2.
Oh, okay.
To the notifications page, exactly.
Oh, that's okay. So that would work then. I just want to make sure. Oops. Oh my gosh. Okay. URL. Stick that in there. I'll say same frame. Sure. Update it. Didn't work for me. I might have done it wrong, but in theory it should work. And Kat got it to work at some point, so.
Like I said, that wasn't a module. That was.
Oh, that's right. It was a different page.
Yes, and it's part of an API, kind of. But not. I don't know. It's special code that I put in to get that notification link to work.
So super fancy.
Yes. But then afterwards it will, every time they click on the content page after that, it won't default to the syllabus page. Like that only happens the very first time. So then like if Riley clicks on accessing your creativity, all right, and now go back out to the home page.
Oh yeah.
And back into your course and the content page. It defaults to where you left off. So it's not every time that they'll be on that syllabus page with not a lot on there. It's just the very first time they click on it.
Cool. Is there anything else anyone has questions about?
I know I'm going to have a ton of questions when I start doing all this.
And that's okay. We're here to help, you know. So if you need anything, I know I'm usually more available than Kat, but I could still help with Brightspace. If you ever needed anything, I have a Calendly link that I can send you. You could set up a time and we could talk about it, like what you want to do, and we can kind of work it out. Or if something's just going wrong, we've just had people like email the help desk and we're able to help almost immediately. Because we're learning too, and things are a little bit rocky at first, but people seem to really fall into a rhythm with Brightspace after a while, and things look good. So I believe in you. It'll be great.
So even over the break, even over the winter, when we're off after the fall semester.
Yeah, we're not off as long as you.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'll be off because I'll be building this course over my break. So.
We're only off for the week between Christmas and New Year's. Otherwise, we're officially on.
Okay,
the
that's
rest
good. Thank you.
That time. And oh, you know what, Riley? We were gonna go over the if anybody wanted to stay, because I know 6 minutes is probably enough time. Moodle, exporting out a Moodle, and where you would import it here.
Right. All right. Let me get into Moodle. Okay. So first things first, I believe it's been a while since I've done this, but you go and get a backup file, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go to my course in Moodle. If you wanted to make a backup file of your Moodle course and import it into Brightspace, this is how you would do it. You go into the course that we're talking about, so whatever one you want to back up, and go to Course Management, and then click Backup under Course Settings. And you just kind of check what you want. I feel like for a Brightspace import, like most of the stuff doesn't matter. Is that right, Kat?
Yeah, a lot of it, like the calendar events and comments, like a lot of it's not gonna matter anyways, like you're not gonna want the comments, but you can leave them all checked. It won't have any effect on thing. And if you like everything in your course as is, you could click jump to final step. And if you want to pick and choose, we'll do next. We're gonna do next, so that way Riley can just pick like one super small thing so it goes fast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's way more in here than I thought there was.
Yeah. So go up to the top and yeah.
Yeah. So mass select none. I'll just click this one. If you want to select certain things in an area in your Moodle course, you have to check the title of it first and then check your individual bits. So I'm going to just do all of these. But now this is the only thing I want to back up, but if you're doing your whole course, you just leave everything checked. You scroll to the bottom and you click next. And then it just reviews with you what you checked. So I see all the stuff I didn't check and all the stuff I did, and perform the backup. Depending on how big your course is, how many resources you have, it'll take a few minutes. For me, it took 5 seconds. Click continue, and then you have your backups under this course backup area. So just make sure to download it. It doesn't automatically download. You do have to click download, but once you do that, you can then hop on over to Brightspace. And Kat, you might have to guide me on this.
Yeah.
So
you first, you can either go to Course Tools, Course Admin, or you can go to your table of contents.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a light blue button right under it that says Import Course.
Oh, I see. Okay. So import course package. And then you upload and select that course that you just, the backup you just downloaded. And it should be labeled with backup and then Moodle too. You could always rename it, but that's how you identify it in your computer. It does a little upload beforehand, and then we should be able to import all components.
Yes. The advanced options would be if you wanted to double check, or maybe you changed your mind and said, I don't want to bring all of that over. I just want to bring a couple things over. The advanced options will let you go through on the Brightspace side and see what things you want to bring.
Okay.
If you have a lot of stuff in your course, this is a slow process. Like scroll down, Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Be a great time to take a short break. Because will take a couple minutes. I think we had one that was like 15 minutes. Ooh. For somebody that had a lot of things in their course.
And I only backed up like 5 things, so this is taking a little bit just because it has to convert everything. But it kind of goes through the circles, and then you can click view content. I do believe you have to reorganize things afterwards, but we shall see in a few seconds. Okay. So we can import another if we wanted to. We can review and manage dates, which is great if you had due dates for your assignments in Moodle and you want to adjust them for, the new dates for the new semester.
There's also a cool one that's offset dates. So basically, yeah, that's in there.
Here it is.
So like the offset, you can choose and say like, here's where they were due. This is when I want it to move to, and it'll shift all of your dates. So you don't have to manually go through and edit each one. If you had them all set up before. If you didn't have them all set up before, the bulk edit's nice because then you can go through and type in all the dates for them.
That is pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, my poetry unit now is a module here. I only imported one section of my course, but all of the stuff is in here, my assignment, and it still has that March due date because I didn't do anything with the dates. And then there's an assignment here too. There's another link. There's a quiz. So the things came in as they were supposed to. And if you ever wanted to edit them, which I'm sure you will, you could just click on them and just start editing and looking at them, making sure they look right. But that was a pretty simple process. It just takes a little bit for it to import into Brightspace. So.
Now that's everything.
Now that's
For today at least.
I will stop recording.